It's past midday in Freetown, Sierra Leone, today being Thursday, 5th April 2018. Welcome to the Podium on the Sierra Leone Broadcasting Corporation. I am Phoebe Swiel. Our quote for today's program comes from a French leader, Charles de Gaulle, and it says, "Patriotism is when love of your own people comes first. Nationalism, when hate for people other than your own comes first." Coming up in the program this afternoon, retired Brigadier Julius Madabio elected as President of Sierra Leone. And we shall be talking to the Interreligious Council of Sierra Leone, Forum of Sierra Leonean Youth Network, and a civil society activist about the results and the need for national unity and cohesion. You can also be a part of it just by sending us your questions, comments, and opinion coming through as a text message to 088-373504. Stay with us for the next hour and keep the conversation flowing. The Podium on SLBC, starting the program this afternoon. As the elections end, citizens and political analysts are calling for a peaceful transition by bringing the different parties together. To take the discussion further, I have been joined in the studio by Thomas Babadi, Executive Director, Forum of Sierra Leonean Youth Network, and I also have Ahmed Kanu, Management Consultant, who is a Sierra Leonean appealing for peace and unity. Gentlemen, good afternoon. Thanks for joining us.
Good afternoon.
I'll start with you, Babadi. How important is it for Sierra Leone at this point that all the political parties that were involved in the race come together to govern the country?
When Hillary Clinton considered defeat in the US during inauguration, a senator in the US said, "We're excited that this thing is happening. This is what we want to see all over the world: smooth transfer of power." Secondly, at that time, Gambia was grappling. In terms of smooth transfer of power, and so that set a signal. Jammeh had to quit. Well, the situation is different. Look at what happened yesterday. I don't know if Dr. Samram Matthew Kamara of the APC has called Brigadier Retired Julius Madabio to congratulate him. I don't know if that has been done. If so, they were excited. Kudos to him for doing so. It happened in 2007 and 12 respectively, and also 2002. Yeah. Now moving forward, I think there is national unity and cohesion.
And so how do we bring that aspect of all the different political parties coming together? Basically, when Sierra Leone has that system where the winner takes it all, how do we bring them all to come on board?
That's what I'm saying. It is but difficult to have all political parties coming together after elections. They'll go apart. Especially the two grand old traditional parties. APC will never join SAP, neither SAP join APC.
And when they all go apart, where does that leave the country, especially in a position where others come together to put in checks and balances in place?
That doesn't mean they are not together. They are together. There is unity in diversity. They'll all go to parliament. In fact, we're excited that the parliament will be dominated by APC. Majority of seats in parliament is in favor of is in favor of APC at the moment. One. Number two, we think that maybe, because that's another question. I was reading section 78 and 79 of our constitution, which talks about the dealings and workings of parliament electing Mr. Speaker, the procedure in parliament. Yeah, and looking at the PSO. Now, in the next 2 weeks or 3 weeks, they'll be going to parliament. Who becomes Mr. Speaker? You don't know.
And
secondly, you will have to give Brigadier retired Brigadier Bio some time to prepare his cabinet list and to roll out his plans. Say, let's say 21 days, and relieve all of his ministers, deputy ministers, commissioners, board members, director generals, directors or CEO of parasitals, ambassadors.
Back to the issue of Parliament, Babadi. I spoke to someone and a concern came up about it has its advantages that it's a parliament made up of about 4 or more political parties, including independent candidates. But then APC now becoming the main opposition, having more members in the parliament than the other parties. the thought of how this would turn out for the country, especially when it comes to passing laws and bills where, you know, politics might want to come into play in the parliament, how would that aspect affect us?
It's quite interesting. Several months ago, I was here. I did a piece that I sent to different media houses, and gave some discussion and talks on that. That the APC, the SVP, NDC, C4C, and others should fix our parliament. Fixing a parliament means you fix the country. America will function without a president. Simply put, because their parliament, Congress, Senate is fixed. America have no anti-corruption commission.
But even the America you're referring to, they're having those problems wherein President Trump might want to do certain things, but once it gets to Congress, then it becomes a problem.
Yes, now,
others vote against it happening.
No, well, I mean, do the right thing, the right way, and use the right channel. For example, let's say APC have 72 seats in parliament.
Do you foresee a situation where making laws and reaching certain decisions might turn out to be difficult in parliament with this sitting we're having right now?
No. It tells you that the president have to strike a lot of compromise, have to engage parliament. Mind you, people do not understand this. Section 73 of our constitution established parliament as an institution that nobody regulates parliament except themselves. But the president of the Republic of Israel is the first member of parliament. And so he is the first member of parliament, not the speaker. Yeah? If he does not assent to bill, the bill will not go through. Now, let's say for example, you have three stages. A bill of parliament bill, emergency bill, or whatever.
And
now,
also controversially, he cannot just sign to pass on certain things when the majority of parliament is against it.
Now, look now, you have 47 members of parliament of SVP, let's say for 46, I don't know. Yeah, independent 3, 7 paramount chiefs in the south, 7 in the north, C4C 8, NDC 4. That's like 70. APC have 72.
So when you put it together, all those put together versus what APC as main opposition will be having in the parliament, there's still a disparity.
Yeah, none of them have two-thirds. To have two-thirds, you should also have like 93 seats. I mean, including paramount chief members of parliament. Yeah. But again, let's wait and see when they get to parliament. That's why I'm here to call on the chairman of the NEC to ensure he expedites the calling of the other parliamentary seats. Let's know who is who. For me, I'm excited. The kind of parliament we are having. I am more concerned about parliament than state house. That's the problem.
Why?
Parliament is where all laws are made, contracts are made, agreements are made, ministers are vetted, they disburse the money, they follow the money again. America, I'll say this again, America don't have anti-corruption commission. It is the Public Account Committee in Senate that monitors all government money. It is the Finance Committee that, apportion the money. But here we have anti-corruption commission, you have the PSC. What's the PSC doing? And for me, I was advocating, if Samura had won the elections, I was putting together a piece to say that the SVP should be head of the PAC. That's the Public Account Committee. But now it is turned. And so we're excited that ABC, if they form the speaker and deputy speakership, it's going back to the vote. Here comes in politics, politicking. If the opportunity to have the speakership of parliament and deputy speakership, yeah, they will head the PAC. That means they will be apportioning the money and following the money again. Mind you, over the years, the majority party in parliament forms the speakership, becomes the deputy speaker by vote. That's just one. 2, they head the Public Account Committee, which to me was not really good at all. Yeah, because this PSC, they are the ones that are responsible to ensure that MDAs perform effectively. They monitor them, oversee them, go to councils in Bo, Kelly, McKinney, everywhere, and look at them. If you found one thing, you are reprimanded by them, the DSP, the deputy speaker. That's how it's been operating over the years. Now, let's see what will happen in this parliament, because they regulate themselves. It's too soon to say A will become speaker or deputy speaker. It's politics. Section 78, I was reading just now, before coming. I saw that if you're unable to have the vote, now speaker is elected from within. That's good for us. He's elected from within. And so they will choose from among themselves. Yeah, who should be speaker? FAP definitely will project a speaker. C4C might say this is a speaker by vote. MPs will say, this is a speaker. They'll go into vote. The MPs will vote. Who will have the majority? Now, if you don't have two-thirds, you go once, second, thrice. And then the parliament will dissolve and say, well, let's have a simple majority. Then they go ahead. The speaker is formed, parliament starts.
Thomas, continue to stay with us in the program. Let me come to you, Ahmed Kanu. With what Babadi was saying, several key things came up, especially looking at several institutions. Now he's talking about the president, you know, thinking about his cabinet, replacing some members. And to a large extent, most of these institutions are headed by political appointments. You look at the anti-corruption, the head of the police, all those things. It's by political appointments. And during the electionary process, you've been hearing people talk about how politicized some of these state institutions have become. How do you foresee this presenting itself as a challenge for the new government?
Well, you see, God moves in a mysterious way. They say his wonders to perform. I go back to the issue of parliament, for example. For me, we have been looking for a rainbow nation where we really have Sierra Leoneans working together, irrespective of tribe, you know, and region. This has been a challenge over the years, you know. To some extent, we have been keeping some of these things under the carpet, but I think the issues have emerged, and they are now with us here. So the issue of parliament, for example, being diversified, as far as I'm concerned, is good because it's going to help our democracy grow. Because you are going to be compelled, you're going to be compelled to negotiate. You understand? It means you don't just come to impose, to rubber stamp. And this has been a problem with most of the contracts, you understand, that the outgoing government signed. Most of the contracts, even when citizens shout that this contract is not good, but because you have majority, just go ahead. I think we're having a dynamic situation now where at least compromises in the interest, we only hope that it will be in the interest of the country, that those compromises will be made. But one thing I know is that the dynamism, the dynamic nature of the composition of parliament will help this country to be united along common objectives, you know, common value systems. That is that we develop the country. We look at the interests of the country. What has happened over the years is that, and it's really a serious problem. Over the years, institutions, people have politicized almost all the institutions in Sierra Leone.
Because when you look at the heads of those institutions, it's political appointments.
Yes, but you see, a lot of reasons are responsible for that.
Do you see that in itself as part of the reasons why some of those state institutions have been politicized?
That will be part of the reason, but it cannot exclusively be the reason why those institutions have been politicized. Because like you were saying, you talk about America, most of those institutions, the heads of those institutions are appointed by the president. But, you know, where you have standards in society, where you have corporate standards, you have political standards, the problem is our institutions do not have stronger policies. You understand? Because like he says, America can run without a president because the institutions are established. What has happened over the years, you know, is that, for example, you recruit somebody to head an institution. The person does not even have the requisite qualification to sit in that office. The person comes, I mean, talking about politics, this is where they talk about tribes, they talk about this, you know. So political appointment is one, but for me, because I have also enjoyed that over the years, I have never allowed political appointment to change my standards of performance. It borders on the institutions that we inherit. It borders also on the competence, you know, the qualification, the experience, the managerial exposure. When you say CEO, sometimes, when even you talk about interviews, you talk about CEOs, it's not just having qualification, academic qualification. It's having the requisite experience. It's having what we call managerial exposure. For some of these jobs, you see some of the CEOs, I mean, with all due respect, so some of the appointments, for example, that have been made over the years, you look at some people, particularly with the outgoing government, you see some people, you say, these people are not, you know, fit to be in these offices. So one of the challenge, you know, to overcome some of these challenges.
Exactly. So as far as your thoughts go now, how do you foresee the new government skipping that challenge and depoliticizing these institutions that have allegedly been politicized?
It's impossible.
Well, I'm
talking. saying it's impossible. I'll come to here.
I will not say it is impossible. I am talking here as an expert in my own right. You know, I'm talking about management reform here. That I know that if you have a political will, which I know we have, I'm not speaking on behalf of, you know, His Excellency the President here, but I know that where you have the political will, in the first place, over the years, we know that SLPP has been more skewed towards professionalism. That I think most Sierra Leoneans can attest to that. I see a system that is going to be based on meritocracy. That, I mean, for free, I can say that here. Because that is where it starts, recruitment. You don't just say because this person has voted for me. There are many options in politics. People vote for you. There are many options. But I think it starts with the recruitment, with the type of people that you place in jobs. And like Brigadier Bio says, inclusion. You understand? This thing is not about those who have voted for me. This issue is not about those who bear party cards. If we do this, we destroy this country. You understand?
And Babani, why are you saying it's impossible?
Well, in our last press release after the March 7th elections, we advised that once two parties have gone into the second round of elections, like 96 and 2007, we advise that please we call in on these two gentlemen to ensure once they win the election, they form a government, a body government of national unity. I remember when I was in school, I was lower 6.
And that word, forming a government of national unity, that means what does that mean in actual sense?
Not tribe, not region. The political parties. Get the other political parties who are involved in the elections actively, 16 of them. Get them included in appointment. That's what we say. But you don't dictate to the president. The president is being elected. He takes responsibility for his action.
And there are limitations with that. Because there's a part in the Constitution that prevents certain appointments for certain positions if you've just contested in the just concluded elections.
Of course, exactly. There are provisions that affected some people in the last government. And if you collected in a public elections, you need to have like 12 months or so span for you to be appointed. Now, that's not the issue only. The problem with the Constitution that we've identified over the years is that the winner takes all. Not like Nigeria. But now, fortunately for this government, they have less seats in parliament, but they have state house, which is good for our democracy. Secondly, once appointments are made, and I'm sure, like you said, on meritocracy, recruitment has been a problem over the years. That was sort of free at lower level, but at upper level, they've had good guys. You know, Guma Salvako, these guys are all technocrats. In their own field, yeah, you're good. But at down level, I think we have problems with recruitment in the public sector. Now, what will happen is that, for me, I see us being partners in development. I see the new president thinking about private-public partnership, constructive dialogue with the private sector. The problem we have is that the public sector can't employ more than 20% of the population. No, give it over to the private sector. Create more opportunities for the sector to come in and invest, and then you woo employment. So people do not want to work in political offices like some of us. Don't want. For what? I don't want to be a politician. Now, no. My next move is going to the UN to work on charity. That's what I admire doing and establish churches. But again, some people they just like politics. Like my brother, we were in school. He's been a politician all his while. I like him for that, you know. But again, that is it. So we're excited that there's been a smooth transfer. Yesterday was sworn in.
And that's the key word people keep talking about, smooth transition. In actual sense, what does that mean? A smooth transition?
Yeah, no gunshots. 67, when Secretary was about to be sworn in, that was gunshots. 77, you see the violence that took place. 96, the Khaki boys, we were afraid. 2002, smooth. 2007, smooth. 2012, smooth. And 2018, smooth. And so we're excited that we're going democratically.
Ahmed, as far as the management perspective is concerned, what does a smooth transition refer to?
Well, it's moving from the old to the new. But in the processes, for example, the processes of moving from the old to the new, there are a lot of things that we refer to as institutional memory. For example, if like what the government has done, the outgoing APC government has done, you cannot just criticize it totally, that everything they have done, And I think the approach of the SLPP is very clear. Brigadier Bio has made that clear. You understand that a smooth transition will mean that you have to allow the government, you know, that is outgoing to give you a comprehensive, you know, handing over
but you're
note.
coming now from the perspective of what Brigadier Julius Mada Bio retired says. Now, coming from the perspective of a management consultant, what does a smooth transition refer to?
A smooth transition simply means you ensure, for example, that before the new guards come in, you take stock of everything that happened during, you know, the old tenure. You understand? So that, for example, you have a comprehensive handing over note of every ministry, the pending project, what they have implemented, the finance. Of course, you have to look at the financial statements, the report. So you are able to analyze. You have what you call functional reviews. You are able, based on the documents that are presented to you, a comprehensive handing over report, each by ministry, and then you will look at those handing over reports and do functional reviews to see where the dysfunctions are, to see the strength, where you can improve on. Smooth transition also in management means that you cannot just look at a system and just criticize it totally. You have to look at the slightest opportunity of the good things that happen within the management system and then try to see how you can improve on the system, because it's about progressive growth. You know, it's about looking at what really happened, taking stock of it, and then ensuring that those also that are coming in understand the processes, you know, that have been taking place within those offices. You understand? And where possible, if they have to go through some trainings, because that's one thing I've seen. You appoint ministers, even ministers, well, normally they do this, how do you call it, retreat, you understand, official. But you really need, there are some complex, well, it also boils down to the recruitment. If you have a professional that you send to a ministry, and the professional also does not assume that he knows all, because it's about approach also, personal approach. Even if I'm an expert in an area, if I enter an office, in a transition, you have to study, to understudy those that you met before you can improve on whatever standards you bring. So it's about consultation, it's about learning the standards of the office and then bringing in the new ideas so that you can be able to fuse those that you met that are good, you know, and then bring your new ideas. And in consultation, because it's about esprit de corps, you understand? You don't just come to impose what you have. So smooth transition starts, for example, from one, ensuring that there is handing over, comprehensive handing over.
Comprehensive handing over.
That is one. Number two, the person that takes over must know that he's entering a new office. And when you enter a new office, you have to understudy the organizational dynamics. You know, the organizational dynamics is one. You have to study the people, you know, the policies. I mean, in this country, we have weak policies. Very much across institutions, we have weak policies. You study those policies and try to see where you can improve on them. Don't forget that you are dealing with people. You must take people on board in the transition so that they buy into the new, you know, initiatives that you are bringing. If you are bringing change, for example, if I come and say I'm bringing this new idea in a ministry, you have, or in a department, let's say, for example, an MBA, a typical management setup in an MBA, you have to ensure that the staff that are involved, that are going to drive this change, are involved in planning the change, you understand, and executing it, so that they feel part of the process. Because once you attempt to impose the change on them, you start to get problems.
Now, the fact that the main opposition now, All People's Congress, APC, has more representation in Parliament might be a challenge, might be an advantage or a disadvantage. It depends on whose view you're listening to and what angle you're coming from. But coming back to APC as a party itself, APC during their tenure in office replaced a vice president. He was expelled from the party and then automatically was sacked from his position as a vice president. And looking at Parliament, Parliament is the only institution in the country that has the power to impeach a sitting president going by the right reasons. And when you look at our constitution and other laws, there are faulty laws in the constitution you look at that you say are archaic, especially with what APC used to impeach the former vice president, Sam Sumana, saying constitution says this and this. So we have laws in the constitution that they themselves present as a challenge. No. So as far as that background goes, what are your thoughts that APC has more representation in Parliament?
Parliament is the only institution that can impeach a sitting president. Yeah, using two-third
Going
majority.
by the right reasons.
Two-third majority, if they have evidences, reasons to the effect, to impeach the president. But none of the parties have two-third majority, thank God. Now, what happens next? What happened with the issue of Samsumana was constitutionally wrong. It was undone.
And that debate is still ongoing. Seems like
Section 42, excuse me, Section 42 and 43 answers it clear. The office of the Vice President is an inseparable office. These are inseparable twins. President and Vice. The same procedure to come into governance, to sit house, the same procedure, the same requirement. If you say to go to football college, I need to have an O level and an A level, at least 2D or 2Bs. Simple. That's the same procedure. The Vice President is the principal assistant to the President. Now, what's the procedure? You take 5 months, 4 weeks to impeach a sitting President or a Vice President. How does it go? You take 3 weeks. You table your thoughts. The chairman and leader of your party, because Section 41 makes it clear, to become a presidential candidate, you must belong to a political party. If you lose that particular requirement, the party chairman will now write to the speaker, to the clerk of parliament. The clerk will now say to the speaker. The speaker will call an ad hoc committee. The majority, minority, whip, like that. All the executive in parliament, they will sit for 3 weeks and look into the complaints. After that, they will send the document to the Chief Justice, who will now sit with 4 other judges for 3 months to look into the claims. If it's a medical problem, the Chief Medical Officer should attest to the fact that yes, this man is really sick. Now, if not that, if there are other reasons, you proffer them. The CJ will now look at it and then do his own findings and put the law together and then send back to Mr. Speaker. That is 3 weeks, 3 months, 3 weeks. Mr. Speaker will now again put together this particular committee that was set up to look into the findings again for 2 weeks. After the 2 weeks, the Parliament will now recess and come. Parliament will now recess from committee stage and come into the Hall of Parliament to have discussion for 2 weeks. Gallery will be there, the media, civil society, everyone will be present to look into it. And after that, Parliament will vote. So we are waiting to see if the Kono MPs, 6 of them from APC, 2 from SVP, and the Kono Power Chief to vote against or in favor of that. But it never happened so. Shortcut method, statistics. They are assuming that was wrong. It's not a clause.
With that precedent set back in the regime of the All People's Congress, how do you feel that would affect the current government? It happened once.
It's a precedent, but it's a bad precedent. It's a precedent, but that was a bad precedent. Bad precedent for the. In fact, I'd like what they came up very clear. The draft of the constitution, the gentleman who tabled the constitution in Parliament. He came out clearly. He said, no, there is no proviso in the law says you should relieve. Yes, you can relieve the finance minister or any other minister, but the vice president, no, you don't have the wherewithal. No local standard. But again, that was used, and then we keep mute. That's Sierra Leone again. How for do? It was wrong. That's the reason why the election went into the second round, and then they lose. These are the reasons why APC lose. Second round, Samsumana. See for 8 seats. No campaign. No campaign. Just went there and said hi and then came back to down. 8 seats. 1. Number 2, APC was unable to put themselves together for this election. 3, they were unable to have good candidates. So they lose at least 3 seats in the stronghold because the stronghold of the APC is also here. Western area. 3 seats. 1 at Lumley, 1 at Aberdeen, and then of course Godrich. Wrong candidates. Even at council, they imposed candidates. So that's it. Thirdly, I mean, we all knew what happened. Of course, like the toll gate, people are grieved. You have some other issues. And I mean, came out very clear that APC we don't want you again. But again, I want to advise them: court cases don't solve electoral problems.
What are you advising them? Who?
The APC.
Okay.
They want to go to court. Why are you going to court? To do what? To take who to court? Please focus on the leadership of your party. Chairman and leader, like that. Going for convention, have fresh mandates from there. Pick your candidates. Work with your members of parliament. Engage them. Talk to them. Constructive dialogue with them. Train them. Equip them. Let them go and become true in the world of parliament. I think that's it all. We're going to parliament now. Well, your litigation triggered. It's fine. But again, for me, I think that is not... The deal has been done. It's been done. Brigadier Bio is now president for 5 years. 2023, there's another elections. I call it third rounds. This was gone off. We are going for third round. ABC, SVP, these are the two. It brings again, remember me, I said this time with that number. Some people in the other parties were castigating me. People call and blast. People send text to me that I said in this country a year ago that no new party will come and create the impact. Yeah, or to make a change, or to go to this house without these two old parties, ABC and SVP. Now it has proven. 2 of them went into the second rounds. 16 parties, 2 went into the second rounds. Imagine a person like you, person that mad, person that followed since 2011, every night speaker, prolific writer, bold, you know, classical human being all over the world. People love him, respect him, but he wasn't able to make it. 4 seats in parliament. He's going to parliament. For me, I'm excited that Dr. Yumikela is in the world of parliament.
Do you see Sierra Leone developing to that level ever in possible years to come, where there might be a chance for a third party other than APC and SLPP?
Politics in Sierra Leone is grossly tribalized. Let's move from that based on my research. I did research I helped a Japanese lady, Omuyoko, to do his PhD, PhD thesis.
When you say tribalized, in what way?
Politics in Africa. Sierra Leone is a bit better, like Ghana. But politics in Africa is grossly tribalized, 1, grossly regionalized, 2, and grossly traditionalized. 3 things. Now, if you take these 3 out of it, some of us will come into politics. But these 3 things are there. No. Because Kenya is the worst case scenario. It's tribe that makes party. Nigeria is the worst case scenario. Look at the Gambia, Guinea, the Soso, and Madingo as opposed to the Fula. It's all over the place. Grossly tribalized, grossly regionalized. You know, there was more argument before the elections.
Who's tribalizing it? The politicians or the voters?
The political parties. You see how they're formed. Shaka Stevens was born in Moyamba, grew up in Moyamba, in the house of the Paramount Chief. Speaks Mende, know the Mende culture more than the Mende man itself, himself. Yeah? Shaka Stevens was born in the home of Paramount Chief in Moyamba, but his lineage is from Tongolimba. Yeah? So, APC party was formed in the north, but in most of the year, but has to lineage in the north. SVP in the north, but have strong lineage in the southeast. And they of course, they have most of the membership of the SVP is from the southeast. They love the SVP more than even the north here, because APC has entered into the north years ago on Secretary Stevens. Now look at what's in the area. You see, they're still looking forward. They're still going towards APC. So in other words, it's regional. Now you look at the Timini Limba, the Mende Shabu, the Konos. Yeah, where are they? These are the issues. It is grossly tribalized, grossly regionalized. There was more argument that the North, after independence, that the North,
yes, land with that.
The North has only ruled, the South has only ruled for like 7 years, or 7 or 8 years.
And you say the political parties are to a large extent responsible for the tribalism and regionalism, but what role do the voters themselves play?
Well, I do not want to. I don't know, but it's the political parties. I don't see that happening in Sierra Leone. We have what is referred to as ethnic consciousness, not tribalism, because intermarry a lot. You see, Limbati Minimendi stays in the same roof. They eat together and sup together. They marry together. They go to the same mosque and church. No, in other countries, no. The Yorubas and the Igbos, fire. They don't stay in the same roof. Come to you see all over the place. They don't even intermarriage. The Kikwe and Kiakwi in Kenya, it's difficult. They have the culture in Bahia is there. But us, we intermarriage. Limba Timini go to the same church. You see a Timini going to the Limba church. You wonder what is happening. I mean, it's like ethnic consciousness. But again, when it comes to politics, it's very second rounds. 96, 2007. 2007, you had the comment during Instagrams. No, we don't agree. We particularly don't agree at all. We don't make mistake, but we go back to come out. Again, 2018, we particularly don't agree for them. We don't, I mean, now so you saw the voting pattern. How it went? It's very, very clear. So politics in Sierra Leone and Africa as a whole is well, I follow elections in Africa. I've monitored 1 or 2 elections, you know, Ghana and so in other words, you see interestingly politics, especially Ghana is a bit better. They are growing. They are Santi, the Fanti, the Aware, the Gang, you know, they are growing seriously. They are putting aside all those biases. But in Sierra Leone, Guinea, Liberia, going over to Nigeria, come to Kenya, the Gambia here, Guinea-Bissau, you see open ethnic problems during elections.
Babaji, do you feel the 2 presidential candidates that represented the APC and the SLPP could have had as much votes as they did had they contested under any other party aside from those 2?
Impossible. Fatu and Fatmata. Mari and Mariama. Like you can say, what is it?
Alassane and
Alassane and Hussein. These are the 2 people. They will continue to go ahead like the Democrats and the Republicans. Let's not fool ourselves. These are the stark realities. Sam Sumana was vice president for 8 years. He acted as president, the most experienced amongst the 16, you know, in terms of governance. But what happens? 8 seats to parliament. No presidential candidate.
Gentlemen, with that said, continue to stay with us. This is the Podium on the Sierra Leone Broadcasting Corporation. You there can be a part of it by way of just simply sending us your questions, your comments and your opinion coming through as a text message to 088-373-504. The number is displayed on the screen. We're taking a break and we'll be right back. Keep your thoughts coming through. Back. It's the Podium on the Sierra Leone Broadcasting Corporation. I still have in the studio Thomas Babadi, Executive Director Forum of Sierra Leonean Youth Network, and I have Ahmed Kanu, Management Consultant, both gentlemen in the studio discussing our just concluded elections. And Ahmed, you seem to be holding a different view from what Babadi was talking about in terms of the regionalism and tribalism aspect of the voting pattern in Sierra Leone.
Well, it's not a different view per se. Perhaps just to glue on the idea, you know, there is what we call in sociology political socialization. If I am born, you know, in a particular home, you know, I'm a Temne, like in this part of the world, you know, like for example here, when people see, you know, Ahmed Shebum Kanu is in SLPP, you know, the surprise people will say, you see, you talk about political socialization, people are born into homes, you know, and traditionally, like he says, you know, they are taught to vote. The voting patterns go, you start it from there, from the home. So that political socialization is also another factor that is responsible, you know, for this pattern that has been entrenched over the years. But one good thing, I mean, like you were saying, one good thing that I've observed when particularly it comes to runoff and where you have to make compromises. Like if you see the one of that we just concluded, look at the voting patterns. At least you look, for example, the Western area, rural, you see, on SLPP, for example, got about 40% of the vote. And definitely those aspects you cannot, say you have more of Mendes and Chabos in those places. So you see the voting pattern improving. Like in some areas, you look at Kono, of course you will say Kono is southeast, but like the western area, rural and urban, I think the votes were encouraging. If you go to Ghana, and the comparison we are talking about Ghana, the reason is education. That is why this thing about education, even when people talk about education, oh, it is expensive, where are you going to get the money from? I don't even want people to start talking about that. Don't even start talking about that. Education is so integral and important, you understand, that we need to find the resources to ensure that people are educated. I tell you, if people are educated enough, they will be liberated beyond those traditional boundaries, of political socialization. You talk about Ghana, most of the elections you see, 40, 49, 48, because the people are conscious. They look, for policy issues. They look for what affects them beyond those traditional issues. And it also borders on the leadership styles that we have. For example, we have President Bio today. You understand? He's talking about government of inclusion. If you have inclusion, definitely expect people to be wooed towards your party. So these are the policies deliberately that you need to bring into governance that will help to reduce or mitigate, some of these things. The good thing is that this election has brought it as a national concern and a national issue. You understand? We are now flagging it. I mean, before this time, when they talk about it, they say, no, don't talk about it. Don't talk about regionalism, this. But it has come to the fore, and from various schools of thought, people are debating it. And once we debate it, and once we invest in education, which I know the current government is going to invest in education, that is why, however expensive education is, never try ignorance. You have to invest on education.
Babaji, as a member of civil society, what are your expectations of the new president as far as inclusion goes?
Okay, in terms of inclusion, yes, I know he will include the other political parties that actually pitched in with him in the first place, like President Nkrumah did for the PMDC, and the other parties that joined him, where he made some ministers from the PMDC, deputy ministers, send them to airports, the seaport, etc., etc. He will do that. But again, allegiance, politics that I've read over the years is about allegiance. Civil society is objectivity. You pay allegiance to me because we are appointing them out of non-volition. He will say no, yes, well, hold on, wait for a year, then I'll appoint you. But I'm appointing you now in my next cabinet, in the next 3 weeks or 1 month. You pay allegiance to me and not to go and talk to your leader or that party that sent you to me. That's just one. Two, I am looking at it from this point of view. Yeah, inclusiveness. Maybe those who never supported you, like the Kamarimbas, the Parti Kudwa, my classmates. We were together. Parti Kudwa, my very self in Shibum. We were together in Border, the Albert Academy in the 90s. All these guys put together, very good guys. Then they hand in the profession, like Dr. Sandy, who was in the NULP. All these guys put together, they'll be included in his cabinet or his government. Sorry, his government. But I mean, allegiance takes precedence. That's just one. Number two, I'm expecting Brigadier Bio to think about the document being to the public. I'm expecting also the donor community supports him. If not, I'm afraid. Thirdly, I'm also expecting, of course, it's SMAP. I know these guys.
Speaking of donor international community, we see the country seemed to have made a little bit of a mess around that area when APC was accusing some diplomats, the British High Commissioner and John Mahama from Ghana. How do you picture a scenario where Julius Maada Bio, now as president, would fix that situation?
There are 3 layers of politics: the grassroots, the business class, and the international community. Whosoever the IC wants, that's the person to fix the eyes on. That's how they are. That's the interest. President Nkrumah is going the China way. South-style cooperation. You look at a foreign policy, it's about economic diplomacy. That's fine. He was going that way. And so he was born in 2013, 14. Stop. So that's hence the reason why. Now, we've gone through that. We've gone past that. Brigadier Bay is a new hand, a new kid on the block. He's coming now, yeah, as a new man. What he needs to do is to woo do not support. There is no other way you can do. You agree, you cut off slippages, identify them and cut them off. Hold those responsible. Hold them responsible. It's important, please. If it's possible, you can review the Anti-Corruption Act of 2008. Review it. That will be fine. Like President Kumar came with 7 laws that he made in the 2001 Anti-Corruption Act. He came in and added 20 laws, went to Parliament and that. And so he started his work. Please, if you want to review the act, you can review the act. Cut off slippages. 2. Number 3, identify those who are responsible and punish them. Or you find some other measures, soft measures to get them off from that. Now, get more money. I mean, this election, I said it's about the economy. It's about the economy. For example, if there is no fuel when ETSA, or there is no credit on the meter.
And when you talk about the economy, economic challenge is not just unique to Sierra Leone. It's a global challenge where when you look at international news, you see other countries, including America itself, how they're struggling with their economy because of the trend in the world right now. But then in Sierra Leone, to a large extent, when the politicians are campaigning, they seem to be making a lot of flaws there. If you can take it from 2007, there were all sorts of songs against the SLPP in favor of the APC, singing about how rice was at 60,000 leones per bag, 1,000 leones for oil and palm oil by pint. And then 10 years later on, now you look at it, people are blaming the APC again. So the trend of campaigning on a message of greener pastures coming, how do you see that presenting itself as a whole challenge for the Bureau presidency?
Well, I said it in my preamble that he needs public-private partnership. Public-private partnership. You don't move a country without the private sector. If the private sector booms, then you relieve the government of so many burdens. You bring food on the table of the least managed village. We are not talking about village economics, econometrics. How do you take opportunities into the villages? Let us sit here. How do you take light? Fix the light system, energy, and infrastructure. These are competitive things. Yeah? You fix the light, fix the roads, take education to them. Give them good health facilities. Yeah. Pay our nurses well, pay our teachers well. You could teachers more. Pay them well. Let them take care of the kids. Look at our nurses and doctors. Let us encourage them to do more. Now, there are a lot of things, a lot of issues. The issues are so many. There are so many. Look at the roads. We don't have enough roads. Look at the street light. We don't have. We lack energy in this country. What President Kumar was domestic energy. We don't have industrial energy that drives the engine for economic growth. If we have industrial energy, we are big. Cement factory, Leusen, cold storage. These guys use the government. ETSA, for example. You know how much goes into the economy every day? Look at the hotels. They have all out stand-alone generators. So that is it. We lack industrial energy. You go to, I want to call China. Ghana now, at the moment. It's not only thinking about bread and butter anymore. The thing are going to space. Rocket science. Look at Nigeria. Nigeria is thinking about nuclear energy. Leaving the bumbuna, the hydro, whatever. Where are we going? We need money to be pumped into the economy. We need to bring home investors. We need to build here, of course, that's my vision. Build investor confidence. Bring them home. Do better agreement. That's why I said fix the parliament. Go to parliament, have proper contract. I hope these MPs will not be taking brown envelope too much. So that is it. That's the problem. I'm not indicting. Thank God they've not been, sworn in. So I hope you make good agreement with them. Go to the village whilst you're mining, whilst you're doing business, establishing factories. That's why I see JCs coming in, and especially those who have, come out clearly in the diaspora supporting Brigadier BO. Please come home and bring what is called the diaspora bonds. It is important. We need it. If, say, British Salarians in Britain will put together at least £100 million a year to be sent into the country, to be pumped into the economy. That's sugar bonds. You give them back the money in leons. So we have more foreign exchange in the bank. You don't have losing them in the US. Let them bring at least $200 million. Their own money. They'll give the money, give them back the money in leons. And then they continue to invest here in the city. Yeah. Or in the provinces. Build factories. Don't come and say you want to go to parliament. Parliament. 60 million you'll be paid. I mean, these are the issues.
Okay, bye-bye.
Look at content.
Let me quickly read through the text messages I've received here. The first person says, congrats to our president-elect, Julius Madabio. God will guide and protect you. Another texter says, the past government politicized all state and non-state institutions. I hope SLPP will learn from that. Someone else says, because of peace, let's bury our differences and move forward. While another person says, what is your take on the management of assets and properties? Someone else says, I like the analysis of the two panelists. We should be discussing these issues of development. Let's avoid politics. Another person says, Mr. Babadi, may God bless you. You are saying the facts about the APC government. And someone else says, SLPP in 2017 provided detailed handover to the APC. Well, I guess this person is saying 2007. Yeah. I hope the APC will do the same. And another texter says, SLBC, we are happy for the outcome of the elections. And the final text message for now, what is going to be the fate of the 6 officers? Those are the text messages received, and Ahmed, your response to the message, especially that person that's talking about how the management of assets and properties would be done.
It's interesting because I also serve as a consultant in that area. You know, the management of, well, over the years we have had a lot of challenges in the management of assets and you know, the properties of government. But what the commission has done under the new leadership is that the commission, the National Assets and Government Property Commission, has put together a project document that can better explain, you know, the project. There is a project that the commission has put together that better explains what they want to do in the next 3 years. But it's a challenging area. It's an area I don't want to enter now because we really don't have time here. But to say the least, we have not been able to manage our assets because in the first place we were trying to pilot, you know, to do what you call an inventory of assets. Because if you talk about an asset register, it has to be costed. You understand that you have to have the net book value, the depreciation, the rest of it. We have not even been able to have the list of government assets and properties. As to transfer, as to who takes what engine from government vehicles, that one, I mean, don't go into it. It's all over the place. It's a whole area where government, you know, we are talking about savings and we are talking about leakages in government. That is one huge area where government, you understand, the management of assets and properties, where government can save a minimum, an estimate is that about 20%, you know, of revenue. Government can increase its revenue by 20% just by managing its assets and properties. You know, we were talking about just perhaps to go in the area of the poverty area, the economics we were talking about during the campaign. We are talking about the economics, you understand? If you look at the policy of the last government was, you know, concentrating on infrastructural development. There is going to be, you know, a paradigm shift in the sense that this government, you know, I'm not holding brief for them, but I also know the program, you know, the SLPP program is geared towards personal development, you understand? You are looking about providing education and also deliberate, you know, policies, you know, to drive poverty, to kick out poverty. The new government has policies that are clearly stated in its manifesto. You understand, that will drive poverty away. Let me go to Kenya, for example. Kenya has a system that they call universal basic income. They give out money to people to do business. Not anything, no. It's not microcredit, it's not, and they just want to fight poverty. There has to be a deliberate policy. What has not happened over the last 10 years is that we have not focused on, you know, helping our people. Talk about local content policy, you know, who has really pre-financed Sierra Leoneans to do big businesses. But pre-finance foreigners, there are evidences to it. So if you talk about really driving, developing the private sector, the private sector is the engine of growth. But the government, pre-finances some businesses. We have to pre-finance Sierra Leoneans. We have to help the private sector to grow. The private sector cannot go at the level of interest rate that you have. It can't go. It has to be about access to capital for these businesses, indigenous businesses. So there has to be a deliberate policy. For now, I know that there will be a deliberate policy that will target that.
Please, can I just comment, please? There is, we have situation here. The bank was always giving 16% interest, charging interest for every other person that goes to take loan, like the James and others. So they were constrained. Senegal, CRC, they only give them, they only charge 2%. China is 0.9%. Look at the microcredit that is given to our market women.
Okay, gentlemen, hold on just a moment. A quick one. The mayor-elect of the City Council of Freetown has thanked the people of Sierra Leone for electing her as the mayor of Freetown. She disclosed her plans to our SLBC's George Louis as soon as she took up office.
And I'm a Sierra Leonean. I was born in Freetown. Probably a lot longer than most people might imagine. I get this all the time. People think I'm much younger than I am. I've always been passionate about Sierra Leone. During the war, particularly after January 6, 1999, I set up a not-for-profit, a charity to help children, really, really touched by what I saw. When Ebola happened, I stepped in. I stepped in because I was moved, like I was after the war. I pretty much brought myself into this space. And in doing so, one of the initiatives that we embarked on was cleaning the city, because you cannot talk about transformation nationally when your capital city is really crumbling under a lack of a waste management, a proper waste management system. And what really is important when you think about Freetown is because geographically, you'd have seen this, it's really beautiful. But we have this backdrop of mountains, we've got the plain, and then we've got the beach. So when you talk about growth, you're either growing up the hills or you're growing into the sea. And that's happened at an alarming scale. So one of the things that has resulted is that this growth of slum dwellings. With this number of people, the waste management systems have totally broken down. And so sanitation in the city is a really pressing issue. What am I going to do? I'm going to apply a delivery system. So we're already working and have already had support internationally for the concept, because we use it to great effect. You need to have set targets. I want to have not my vision, but a shared vision. Well, I think it means a great deal, and you'll find that during the campaign, there was a lot of enthusiasm for me as a woman, from women. A lot of women was just excited and like, we'll vote for you. I'm not from your political party, but I'm going to vote for you because you're a woman. And that I need to carry through. I need to carry through in the focus of my interventions. I've already talked about things like hygiene, of sanitation, education, healthcare. As the mothers of families, these are things that matter to women. I'm introducing markets. We need more markets. A lot of the women are selling their wares on the streets, but we're not just having markets, we're having a different type of market. In every constituency, we're going to have a market with a creche. Market women, when they come to work with their little kids who now play under the tables, are going to have an opportunity for those children to be engaged academically. So these are the sort of things, to add a twist, which comes from a mother's heart, a woman's heart, and a woman's perspective. When it comes to business, empowering women, giving them access to credit, working with them to make that happen. It's been very difficult to do anything other than politicking. In fact, the last 3-4 years, I've been pretty absorbed by Sierra Leone one way or the other, whether it was fighting Ebola or it was, working on the recovery program and then taking this on. But prior to that, bringing a Hilton to the country as the investment director of IDEA. It's going to sound really boring, but I don't really get a lot of spare time. What I do try to do is carve out an hour a day for a quiet time, a me time, and a God time, because my faith is really, really, really foundational for my life. It's really what grounds me and roots me. It's seeing young girls come up to me and say, "You're my mentor." It's having, women all over the country, everywhere I go, saying, "I believe I can because you did." That's what gives me the greatest satisfaction.
This is the Podium on SLBC. A quick rounding up now. Babadi and Ahmed, your quick rounding up. What would be your closing courtesies?
Well, I'm expecting Parliament to resume, soon, and we expect members of Parliament to conduct themselves well, to ensure that they put together policies or vet policies, make good agreements, and ensure they interface with constituents at least or frequently.
Thank you very much. Yes, Ahmed.
I am expecting that all those who will be appointed in positions will come in with a new face in terms of reforms. You know, you will not come into an office and take, you know, the office as if it's your private property, like we've seen over the last 10 years. We expect that reforms will take place, people will consult, because what we've seen over the last 10 years is politicization of our institutions.
Thank you very much, gentlemen, for being a part of the program. Thanks to you there, our viewers, for your time and for your text messages. I've been your presenter. I am Phoebe Swill. My producer has been Salma Taba. Have a good day. Cheers.